Wait, it says it's still connecting. Huh. Oh, we are. Okay, we are streaming. All right. Very good. Okay, now we're recording, and so here we are live. Welcome. Welcome, Patrina. Can I hear your voice?
Yes, you
There
can.
you are. There you are. Okay. Okay. Well, we are welcoming the Amazing Woman Rise. Exciting time. This is Patrina Wisdom, and we are having a conversation about this beautiful book launch that is from today, Amazing Woman Rise and Ignite the Infinite Power of the Feminine Heart. Lean into your biggest dreams, amplify your true worth, unleash an unbridled spiritual confidence. So, for you, Patrina, tell us a little bit about your background and what it means to you to ignite that power of the feminine heart.
Well, thank you. And it's exciting to be here and talk about this incredible project that we've been all able to put together, right?
Right.
Collaboratively. So, my background as it relates to the power of the female energy, the female heart, is that I was raised with a background of a parent. My mom was a single mom, and she had
Right.
me at a very, very young age. And so, what I witnessed and what I learned from watching my mom, as well as all of her sisters who were also young mothers, was proving worth, pushing, forcing, having to work hard for money or work hard for love. And essentially, there was a modeling of not enoughness, right? From the lack of partnership, from the lack of support, and just generationally, but also culturally,
Yes.
as an African American woman, where we really have a legacy and a history of struggle. So it really took me a long time. It actually took for this, catalyst in my life to happen where I ended up getting married, having children, creating this incredible life that kind of society tells you that you need to have in order to be worthy or to be successful. And unfortunately, even though I never wanted to get married and have kids, once I did that, like I loved it. I fell in love with being a mom. I fell in love with being a spouse. And yet I still found a way to still hold on to my individuality as well as my entrepreneurial spirit. So I always had my business and different, missions that I was on regarding women. But in 2009, my husband went missing overnight for 24 hours. And the next day, January 6th of 2009, I found out my husband had committed suicide. So overnight, I became single mom, which is something I never wanted to be. Single mom of not 3 children, but 4, because I found out the same day that he passed that I was pregnant with my 4th child.
Oh my goodness.
So literally overnight, my entire life changes. I inherit his financial business, which, I had generational money trauma as well, that I then had to face and heal through in order to then take his business over, as well as continue my mission with the work that I do with women and care for my children. And so I learned very quickly after probably 2 years of pushing, forcing, working hard, all of the things that I had come from, that that wasn't the way to create real abundance, right? That real abundance was embracing that divine feminine, giving in, surrendering, right? Surrendering to ease and really just locking in, I like to say, like really aligning and co-creating with spirit in order to create the life that you want. And so I really credit that defining moment to changing completely the way that I do life.
Mm. What a journey. What a journey to,
Yes,
I'm sure that those initial moments have had to be the most devastating that you've ever
huh,
experienced. And the journey to get
absolutely.
there, to get to where you are today has been, you know,
Yes. But I always tell people there's always a gift in trauma and tragedy if you mine for it, right? So, and immediately when this all happened, instead of saying why me, it was more of a situation of, it was still why me, but it was in a different way. Like, what am I meant to do with this? What am I meant to learn? And I don't think that I would be doing the work that I'm doing with women today had it not been for that experience, because I had a good sense of self. I was able to maintain that in my marriage. And because of some of the sacred self care practices that I had, and just the way that I lived my life in the marriage, it enabled me to not easefully, because it was not easefully at all at the time, but it did allow me to transition to being a single mom and handling all of the things that I had to handle without crumbling, without, feeling like a victim. And so I just really was looking for the lessons. I was looking for kind of what is it that I'm meant to do with this situation. And I chose to be a victor over that situation. And most importantly, be an example that no matter what you're going through, how horrible, how tragic it is, that not only can you overcome it, but you can thrive beyond that tragedy.
You can choose to thrive. Yes.
Absolutely. Because it's choice.
Yes. Yes, very much. So the big why, as you went through this journey and you walked into being the woman you are today, and actually you had a really good start because you had kept that within you. What was one of the biggest shifts that you had to make aside from being a single mom and all the other things that went with it?
For me, all of that is external, right? And I am a Scorpio. I'm a very high achieving, like, ambitious, like, I can do it. You put any challenge in front of me and I can do it. That's the doing. So the moment and the choice and the hardest part for me was the being, right? Moving from doing, forcing, proving, to just being, fully accepting who I am, what my gifts are, and also learning how to trust. Because one of the things that happens when you become a single mom overnight in that way, and you're still wearing that S on your chest, like, you take pride in the fact that you can do it all, is that it slowly chips away at your energy, your self-esteem, your self-worth. It creates a pressure that's completely unnecessary. And it took me definitely 2 years to realize that I needed to change the whole model of how I had been living life. But it took me a lot longer to learn how to trust and to surrender that everything was going to be okay and that everything was going to work out the way it's supposed to, even if I put my trust in someone and they let me down. It's really not the worst thing that you can do. And you'll actually surprise yourself when you actually choose to surrender, with the discretion, of course. You're surprised by how people actually show up and the way that they support you. Because what I had in my mind around how I thought people should show up and what support looked like, it showed up completely different. And it was the most beautiful surprise. So I got to continue leaning into that trust and that surrender. And I think really probably from about 2013, when I moved to San Diego from Las Vegas and started over completely, packed up my kids, sold my 6,000 square foot home and everything in it, and moved to a different city where I knew no one. That was the ultimate surrender, like trusting that spirit was going to take care of me and that everything was going to work out perfectly,
Wow.
So
what a big
super.
a lot of bravery there, but also trust. A lot of trust.
Yeah. It was 100% trust and surrender. Like, okay, what I do know is that I can't continue to do this, turning every corner, and there's a memory, and every single person knows me as Alex's wife, right? I needed a fresh start. And so moving to San Diego was the scariest and the most transformational thing I've done in my entire life, because I got to really establish and stand on my own 2 feet and start to build new relationships with that, on that premise of trust and surrender. So it's been amazing.
So for women that are walking this journey themselves and beginning to realize that the way they're living is not working, and they're
Yes.
certainly maybe not happy there's something calling them, what would you say to them?
So I feel like this is my sweet spot. These are the women I've been serving for over 2 decades. These are women that are in transition, either forced like myself because of a loss or because of divorce, or maybe they're women that are choosing transition. They're from the outside looking in, everything looks perfect, right? And yet there's something deep inside of them that has them feeling unfulfilled, unjoyful, right? Unsuccessful, whatever that means, right? To them. And so for those women, I have a process that I take women that I work with through, called the wisdom system. But the first and most important step in transforming your life is to realign and remember who you are, and to own that self-authority, which is what I write about in our Rise book. That's my chapter, The Essential Power of Self-Authority. Because once you're strong within yourself, you have that self-esteem, that self-confidence, that self-knowing, the truth of who you are, not who people have told you to be, not who you're expected to be, not the roles that we play in our lives and everyone else's on a daily basis, but the truth of who we are. Once we align with that and start to build our entire life around it, everything changes. Everything changes. We open up this portal where we attract the people, the opportunities into our life that allow us to live with ease in the divine feminine energy, right?
Wow.
Embracing the divine feminine heart. So everything needs to line up in that way, but it all starts with us.
It does. It does. It's so important to remember that, because there are times when there are triggers and there's things that come our way that maybe throw us off our game, even though we've worked really hard at not doing that. But it's very deeply ingrained in maybe our history, the way we were raised, in any number of things that could bring that. And yet it's stepping into it and having the trust that you certainly didn't get this far in life any other way, but because of the gifts that you have, because you have a choice too, that you can choose the way you want to be. So is there a favorite quote that you have, or a special message that you want to share for those that are going to pick up this book for the first time and are just starting to explore igniting that feminine power?
Yeah, absolutely. So my favorite quote is my own, of course, because I just think it so perfectly nails this process. And the quote is, "Stop living by default and get back in the driver's seat of your own life." Right? You want to be the one directing your life instead of responding to what life throws at you. That's the game changer, right? That is the absolute game changer. It's choice, right? And how you respond. So I always tell women, in order to choose something different, a lot of times, like myself, you have to leave the environment and the people that are comfortable and familiar. So you do have to get uncomfortable, and really trust yourself. It all starts with trusting yourself.
Absolutely. What a beautiful interview. And so when Marsh invited you to participate in this book, what was your first thought?
Oh, I'm always a hell yes. Fun fact, Marsh was my very first coach. Back in 2009, right after my husband passed. So I definitely credit Marsh for a lot of the foundational messaging and helping me get clear on who I'm here to serve and how I can serve. And so we've done multiple books together, and we've coached together, and I've done live events, spoken at her live events. So anytime she calls upon me, for the most part, if I can make it happen, I'm going to be a hell yes. And especially when it comes to my ladies.
Yep. Oh, that is beautiful and amazing. Truly amazing. Yeah. Well, my hat's off to you, because you went through the dark times and you chose otherwise. And there are those that choose to just wallow in it forever, and you didn't let that happen. And I
do want to say that, because my story is like major, And not everybody has a major, like, in your face traumatic story. And yet, the effects of whatever it is that you're going through, the challenges, whatever it is that you're going through can be the same. So don't think that just because you haven't had this tragic event, that your feelings and that your experience is invalidated in any way. It's exactly the same. Whatever is trapping you and making you feel powerless, or diminishing your self-esteem, that is a big deal. And
It
so
is.
anything that we're talking about in this book, don't look at the stories. I'm sure you can see yourself in all of our stories in some way.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to
All
kind
right.
of throw that out there.
Thank you for your beautiful contribution. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having
That's
me.
awesome. You're a light, bright light shining. Thank you. For those that are listening or going to be listening, be sure and pick up a copy. There's links all the way across the bottom here where you can just click on it. It will take you right there without even having to exit the interview. But be sure and pick up a copy and take the time. Don't just skim read. Really sit down and read this book, because it is so full of amazing, many different ways to express the very same thing. And it will touch your heart. Thank you, Patrina.
Thank you. Have a wonderful